Hi there, this is Bea with Crafting Daily Dose. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I've got the December 2020 paper pumpkin kit called Beary Comforting. This is a kit that is designed to make 12 different cards. There are 4 each of 3 different designs featuring these cute koalas, a bear, and a red panda. As always, the kit comes with instructions to create the projects that are pictured, and on the back there are some other suggestions for possible projects with the addition of a few other supplies, and Stampin' Up! Always lists the coordinating colors. So this month it's Basic Gray, Calypso Coral, Cinnamon Cider, Daffodil Delight, Rich Razzleberry, Soft Seafoam, and White. The kit comes with several different things. First is a mini Stampin' Spot. This one is in Rich Razzleberry, which is this pretty purple color. There are several die cuts. There are 4 pages of these die cuts featuring the bear, the red panda, and the koalas. This is the stamp set that comes with the kit. The sentiments are "Get well soon," "You're on my mind," and "Hooray." The bear coordinates with the die cut and is just a tiny bit smaller. There are 2 pages of die cut labels with gold trim around the outside, and 1 page of die cuts with the presents, flowers, cupcakes, and hearts, and there are little gold embellishments on all of these. There are 3 different types of card bases and some additional die cuts. Along with some dimensionals, and there are 12 envelopes in the soft seafoam color, and on the inside of the envelope there is a printed pattern that again coordinates with all of the colors in the kit. We're going to be making 3 alternative projects today. The first one is this circular rocker card. The second is sort of a modified joy fold card. It's got this flap that opens up, and there is a little pop-up tissue box and room for a message here. And then our last card, this is really actually a card sleeve, and this insert pulls out to reveal a message. You can put a gift card here, or write a greeting here, or on the back. Here's our first card, and here are the pieces that we'll need. Start with the Rich Razzleberry card base. You're going to fold along the score line and crease it well. Now I'm using a template to trace out a semicircle that has a 5-inch diameter. I used an electronic cutting machine to do this because I don't have a die that's large enough. You could also use a compass, or if you have a plate or a bowl that is about this size, that will work. And if not, I do have a PDF of this on my blog so that you can print it out and have that same shape. So here's the fold right here. I'm going to lay this out and trace it. And then cut. I'm going to be careful here to cut inside my line and create a smooth, consistent shape. This is a rocker card, so we want it to be able to rock smoothly. And you can put it down and test it out. Next, I'm going to take the round die cut And I've decided that I want to place it so that the stripes go up and down. So take this here and turn it just because it's easier for me to work with that way, and put some Stampin' Seal just on the lower portion, or what's going to be the lower portion after we turn it back, and line it up. If you've got grid paper, you can use that to your advantage to make sure that things line up neatly. Okay, that looks about centered, and this is horizontal, that's vertical. The reason that I chose this size for the bottom circle is so that when everything is together, you don't want it to be more than the 4 1/4 inch height of the original card, so everything will still fit in the envelope. Next, we're going to do our panda and gift die cut. You can choose any of these that you'd like, but this is going to be a birthday card, so I'm going to choose the gift. And if you'll notice, these pandas have little slits underneath their paw, and the die cut that you choose can slip right underneath so that it looks like that they're holding it. Isn't that cute? I'm going to decide how I want the pandas to sit on my card. I think I'm just going to put them just like that. And then I'll turn them around and put glue just on the bottom parts here. If you get a big glob of glue like I did right there, you can use your finger to smooth that out. I like to use my pinky for that just because my pinky usually stays out of the way and I'm not likely to get in trouble with accidentally touching something else with it. Okay, there's our panda. We're going to take the label die cut and stamp our sentiment. And for this, I'm going to use dimensionals to attach it. If you're not familiar with dimensionals, these are little foam stickers that add a little extra depth and interest. Place them on. I'll put one more here. And peel off the backings. And there you go. We're ready for the second card. We're going to be using these elements, including a sheet of Calypso Coral cardstock that's not included in the kit. To start, cut your piece of cardstock 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. So here's the shorter 8 1/2 side. I'm going to cut parallel to that at 4 1/4 right here. And I'm using this darker cutting blade. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to score at 5 1/2. So here's my 5 1/2, and I'm going to use this lighter scoring blade. And this is the first part of my card base. I'm going to take the Calypso Coral card base that's included in the kit, and I'm going to cut off the decorative front panel line it up. Take it off. And then turn it around, and this time I'm going to measure at 3 inches and trim that off. This is going to be used to decorate the front of my card, like this. Next, we're going to take the soft seafoam card base and we are going to trim it down. So we want 3 inches along this dimension. So I'm going to put this at 3 inches right here. Trim it. At this point, you could fold the card base along the crease so that you can cut 2 layers at a time. And now we want 4 inches, so that's right here. This is going to nest up on the inside of the first card base that we made. I changed my mind here and decided I needed to trim off 1 additional inch from this front panel. So to do this, I'm going to use this side of my ruler on the trimmer, put it at 1 inch, and cut. This is going to be a get well card, and so I want to add a fun little pop-up element inside, and for that I'm going to be using the paper from the envelope because it's a nice thin enough weight that it's not going to add extra bulk when we already have a lot of things going on. So I'm going to use the trimmer to remove the patterned part. I don't have to be super neat about this. Just kind of getting these edges off. I may not have cut enough there. I have to go back and do that side. Okay. So now we have our panel here, and we want to get a piece that is 2 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to do 2 inches in this direction. And 4 this way. Just trim off some of this end here, and then 4 inches from there. The other reason that I wanted to use this pattern from the envelope is it pulls all of the colors together, makes everything look more cohesive. Okay, now that you have this piece, along this long side, you're going to score every 1 inch. So we start here. This is a 4 inch length. We're going to scoot it in till we get to 3. And be careful not to use the cutting blade this time. We're going to use the scoring blade. We're going to score here. And we're going to scooch it in another inch to the 2 inch mark. Score. And now at the 1 inch mark, one last time. You can hold it from the other side. Make it a little bit more secure, or just press this down. Okay. Now, we have 4 panels. And in this second panel, we're going to go back and cut a slit. You don't have to measure this exactly. You just want the slit to be about 1 inch long and centered within this panel. So I'm just going to eyeball it here, and being careful to use my cutting blade this time. I'm going to go down about 1/2 inch without cutting, and then now I press down and I cut for about 1 inch. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Take a facial tissue and cut a small square of it. take one of the corners and push it through the slit that you created from the underside, like that, so that you've got a little tissue box. Okay, we are going to adhere this inside of our card. You want to use a strong adhesive, so if you're using Stampin' Seal, use the plus, or you can use the glue like we did earlier, or the tear tape. And this is going to pop up inside the card like so. So the surfaces that need adhesive are this one and then this one. This is going to go to the side of the card, and this is going to go to the bottom of the card. And your applied adhesive, you really want to be right at that crease. That's going to help your pop-up function well. So that first panel, you have the slit with the tissue coming out of the second panel, and then you want adhesive on the last panel. Right up to the crease. After we take off the backing from the first panel, we're going to install it into this smaller card here. And just so that we keep the orientation correct, it's going to go this way. And we're going to line up our tissue box with this fold, just to the right of the fold, like so. Okay. Now go ahead and fold it down flat, fold the tissue box down flat, and you can go ahead and remove the backing from that last panel and fold the back of the card down on top of that, smush it down on top of that. That way you know that your pop-up is going to lie flat inside the card. And you open it back up. There you go. Now it's time to put this smaller card into our larger card base. Again, they're going to nestle up against each other like that. I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal along this one. And I'm going to center it against this back. Now, we're going to put the panel that we cut earlier, and we are going to put it on top of here. So some additional adhesive. Line this up. I like to use my fingers here so that I know that they're kind of squaring up against one another. Great. And then our bare die cut is going to act as sort of a closure so that this panel can tuck underneath it. So in order to do that, we're going to use the dimensionals again, but we're only going to put them on half of the bare. So I'm going to place several of these. And peel off the backings. to place my bear down, being very careful to make sure that I'm not pinning down this flap. There you go. And then I can tuck in my flower underneath that slit in its paw and secure it down with a little bit of glue. I'm going to go ahead and stamp a sentiment for the front of the card using the Get Well. That looks nice, tucked under here. When you lift up the flap, you have this cute little tissue box. And then if you needed additional room for a greeting, you could also create another white panel that you placed over here. Our last card is pretty quick. These are the pieces that we're going to be using, and I'm also using a 2-inch punch. This first piece is actually the leftover from the previous card base that we had cut, so it's this part. And we are going to trim this down so that we're trimming off 1 inch from this side and then 1/2 inch over here. So turning it along the short side, instead of 4 1/4, we are going to go down to 3 1/4. And then along the long side, instead of 5 1/2, we're going to go down to 5. Next, we'll take the Calypso Coral card base, fold it along the score line, and crease. Next, we'll take the 2-inch circle punch, holding it upside down here. And I'm going to punch along the right-hand side, trying to center it vertically, and then about midpoint here, and then punch. Now, taking our tear tape, we're going to apply adhesive along the left edge and along the bottom edge. I'm actually going to use my snips to neaten that up a little bit. Peel off the backing. And then carefully close down the card front. Just taking my time. There you go. The piece that we had cut down earlier is going to fit inside this card sleeve, like this. And then we're going to take the panda die cut and put some dimensionals just alongside the tail here. I had already peeled off the backing accidentally. I'm going to stick him on right at the edge of the card. The reason that we're using dimensionals is that this part that he's attached to is going to slide in and out, and we don't want him to get caught up on this edge as he goes in and out. I'm going to use the circular label to stamp my sentiment. This time it's the "You're on my mind." And I'm going to place that sentiment right underneath his paw like that. I've glued down the sentiments, and the last step is to glue on this little heart die cut. And I'm going to put it so that it kind of covers up the sentiment, and it'll be a surprise once the recipient slides it open. So I just need a little dab of glue here on the paw. And I'm going to hold this down while it sets. Okay. You can slide this card out, write a message here and on the back. I hope you enjoyed a little dose of creativity with these projects, and that you'll join me the next time. Thank you so much, and have a great day.